Hey guys, and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 29th of June 2013. In today's news we have a recap of the fansite event, raid testing, blue posts, and that's pretty much it. So to kick it off, we have the fansite event. Now this was a event, seems like an extended interview with a whole bunch of fansites. This was done by Blizzard, and we actually have a ton of interesting stuff coming out of it. So what I'm going to do is basically go over everything. So the first thing is about patch 5.4 and just some miscellaneous stuff. So they've said that the existence of patch 5.5 is still to be determined. Now I would hope there's a patch 5.5 because it would tide over the time from 5.4 to the new expansion, hopefully increase player retention so we don't have that sort of historic drop off of players near the end of an expansion. They also said that patch 5.4 may keep item upgrades around, but isn't set in stone yet. Personally, I hope it does, because post 5.3, when they only cost 250 Valor points, I think it's a really nice system, and it means that the raid is constantly going to be getting better, even if people are unlucky with drops, so I think that's really good. Also about Proving Grounds, they said that it's coming within the next couple of weeks, and they're going to start off with basic things like, you need to do a certain amount of DPS to continue, or if you're a healer, you need to keep some players, well, air quotes, players alive. Now, an interesting thing about it is that you'll be put in a group with NPCs which will show up on your party frames just like a player would. So I think this is really a great way to train up new players for dungeons and raiding. So the next thing they talked about is the Timeless Isles. Now, they said that Timeless Isle is another experiment similar to Battlefield Barons but with more content. They said there are more dynamic events and some really difficult mobs, more rare spawns, world bosses, treasure chests, pet battle things, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's interesting to say there won't be a central hub or anything like that, and the activities will be spread out all over the Isle. I think this is actually pretty fantastic. It means, content is more on players' terms, unlike what dailies is. You can do what you want, when you want, and hopefully there should be more variety. I think patch 5.2 it's really going to be the last big daily zone we get in the game, because I think this more dynamic content is just far more fun to the player base, and also burns them out not as quick, which is good. So they also said that Ordos is going to be a new world boss that's coming out, and you need to have the legendary cloak to get to him. So they said he'll respawn every few hours, but the gating mechanism for him is that you need the cloak to be able to get to him. And that they say here his drops will be anywhere from normal to normal Thunderforge quality. What they mean is, normal 5.4 to normal whatever its equivalent of Thunderforged is. They did confirm that there would be Thunderforged in 5.4 though. They also said that there will be some UI changes to alert you to what's happening on the Isle, so I think that looks pretty damn good. Now for general PvE stuff, they said that the first two raiding tiers had mounts that were completely based on luck. But the nice thing about this tier is that the mounts are based on your accomplishments. Now what that means is that the glory of the Raider mount is basically they've changed the whole system. So you get an ahead of the curve achievement for killing the boss on normal mode, flex, or well obviously heroic, for killing the boss on those difficulties before the next patch. This will reward you with a mount. Now another thing is that the heroic version will have a 100% drop rate mount, and on 25 player it will drop multiple mounts, so that's really nice. And I really think that having Glory of the Raider doing a mount really sucked, because the vast majority of people won't get all those heroic boss kills. So yeah, I think I definitely approve of their changes with the mount distribution in the Siege of Orgrimmar. They also said that it would have a smoother ramp up in difficulty than Throne of Thunder did. Now Throne of Thunder was really weird. Now I played it in 10 man where it was harder than on 25 normal. As we saw by the multitude of nerfs and stuff, the bosses just were not well balanced. If we take, you had Jinrock, which I think was a great introductory boss, then Hardon, which was disproportionately hard, Council, which gave some players a lot of trouble, and then it smoothed off into easier bosses. The most time that our guild spent wiping was on Hardon and Council. In fact, we wiped more on those guys than we did in Lei Shen. So, yeah, a smoother difficulty curve would definitely be nice. That said, I really did enjoy Throne of Thunder. And they've also said that the flex rating wings will open faster than the LFR wings. For example, on week 1 there could be a flex wing open when there's no LFR ones open. So I suppose that makes sense, and I think that's a pretty good way to do things. They also said that flex raid groups can kill 2 bosses, come back the next night and queue again. Then invite other people who have 0 bosses down to avoid killing the first 2. And I said this is just a technical limitation, and from what I understand of the system, if the 2 people that they invited were sort of there at the start before they queued, they would have to kill those 2 bosses again. So yeah, there you go. He also said that they think heroic scenarios worked out really well. All players are doing them, and it's a little bit closer to their original design for scenarios. Scenarios, I think, were a little bit of a blunder because they were so damn easy and they were outgeared ridiculously fast. It's nice that heroic scenarios are providing more of a challenge to players, and from what I've done of them, which admittedly isn't that much, it seems to be doing that. So that's definitely good. The more content people can have that's interesting, the better. They also said that the item upgrades worked out better in patch 5.3 than they did in 5.1. The reason for this is because they are significantly cheaper, pretty much, which means that it's not much of a massive decision into how you spend your Valor points. If you have some left over the night before the raid, you can just buy a bunch of upgrades and you'll have better gear for your raid. So I think that's a really nice way of doing things. Now, they've also said that Thunderforge gear worked out really well, and they're going to do it again under a new name. And that, combined with the Valor upgrade system, it almost guarantees that a raid will get more progression every week. Because, if you think of somebody who's in full 522 gear, right? They're going to get upgrades from the item upgrades, and they're going to get upgrades from Thunderforge, so it definitely adds more sources of loot to the game, and I think that's very good. Now, for PvP, as I will show in a minute, they've changed the arena system. So arena teams are now gone from the UI, and it allows you to group up with whoever you want, which is similar to the rated battleground system. This will also come with region-wide matchmaking, so you'll be matched with anyone in your region, not just your battle group. So I think that's actually pretty damn nice. And they finally said that the defense of the alehouse will not happen during this expansion. That was a bit of a Dota sort of PvP map, which I think would have been fun. But whatever, that's cool. Wow, I just ate chili sauce. Or like hot sauce into my throat. Well, moving on to quests. For patch 5.2, they said it's supposed to be the last major thing the quest team was doing before they moved on to the next expansion, but that there's so much storytelling in patch 5.3 and 5.4 that they got a little bit pulled off to work on those. But most of the 5.4 quest team is done, so they can get back to the expansion, which, that expansion, I really hope it's the Burning Legion. The next thing they said is that the Golden Lotus will still have a few of the more fun quests on the west side of the Vale, and the old bosses are turned into rare spawns and other NPCs that give rep, which is pretty cool. Finally, next they said that randomizing a large pool of daily quests didn't really fix the problem of feeling repetitive. You get like a random few quest hubs, but the thing is, after 2 days that just got trivial and you were just sitting there bored stiff. So I'm glad they've realised that. And what they like about the new system is that it is, as I said earlier, self-directed, which gives players flexibility and a little bit more ownership over the content they do, and I think that's very good. So yes, that's quite nice. They also said that instead of seeing a huge pool of randomized quests, we might see some more story-based quest chains like in patch 5.1, and I actually really enjoyed the 5.1 quest chains while they were there. What I didn't enjoy was the random hubs in between, so I think that's a great way of doing things. So yeah, well done Blizzard for copping on. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is raid testing. So they said that on the 1st of July they're going to be testing Malorok 10 normal, Siegecrafter Blackfuse 10 normal, and the Paragons of the Klaxi 10 normal. Hopefully I'll try to get some boss previews, or at least talk about those in some respect when the time comes. Now for blue posts, I'm just going to go over these quickly because I know we're running out of time. They said that with the crowd chooses you, the purpose of that is really just so that in a very long game, there could be, say, 2 teams. One team is doing really well, the other one is not dying, but the other team clearly has the advantage and has been doing better, they just can't close it off. Normally in the system, that game would run to the point where it's a draw, nobody wins, even though one team is, definitely perform better. So this way, the team that perform better will win. Of course, this only happens, Blizzard said, in 0.5% of all arena matches, so really, it's not that massive of an issue. Now for flex lockouts, they said that if a player in a raid has not killed a boss that week, and then they are queued into a flex raid, that the boss will spawn. And finally, for the Hunter readiness change, they said they have planned compensations to buff Hunter raid DPS back up to where it should be. But this will come later on in the patch as they focus with numbers. So that's it for today's show. I'm going to run off and watch MLG Anaheim, which if you're into StarCraft or Even if you're into League of Legends or something like that, you should do, but mainly StarCraft because it's the awesome one, right? So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.